What up, headbangers? How you doing? I'm Rob O'Day, and welcome to the Greasiest of all time. Today we're chilling with Krozover, both from USA and Canada. How you guys doing?
Good,
Doing
you?
awesome.
Good. Why don't you introduce yourselves and let us know how you guys all got together?
I'm Melanie Nix, lead singer for Krozover.
I'm Andy, rhythm guitarist.
And I'm Javier, lead guitar and producer.
Basically everything else at the moment too, hey? So how did you guys get together?
The internet. I mean, Andy and I met. I featured for Krozover on a past album, and then he decided to keep me along, and then he found Javier.
Oh wow, eh?
Yep.
So that's actually pretty cool. So are you two in the same area in the States?
Me and Javier, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're in the
So
same area.
that's wicked. That makes it an easy just one trip then for one member to come down.
We still haven't. Nobody's met yet. Even
No.
the
Yeah,
guy.
nobody's-
Oh wow, like it's legit like only online you guys have met. That's kind of cool. That's the second band that I've met that's done that and hasn't met.
That's
The other one was
very
from Australia actually, and they're a two-piece. So that's really cool. It just shows the independence that bands have nowadays. Like that's a really cool concept.
Absolutely, and I guess COVID this is how we had to do it. I mean, it didn't stop us from doing anything, even if COVID hit and kept us in different locations.
Hmm.
Except me hitting the studio.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of how you have to do it nowadays. You have to do it independently. You kind of just got to take it into your own hands and say whatever we can do, we'll do, and whatever we can't, we'll outsource.
Absolutely.
Right?
How has COVID affected you guys individually as artists? Because have you been in other groups before, like prior to COVID?
This is my first group. I mean, I've been in little groups, nothing serious, just with friends, just screw around on Friday night. But this is my first band. We were supposed to meet up in February when everything started locking down. So I guess that's where we're at right now. It's just waiting for me to be able to get to them.
That's cool and unfortunate at the same time, yeah, because I mean, it does put a big halt, especially with Canada being closed still, and you got America opening up. So,
well, the struggle. We were just talking about it.
It's definitely, especially where in Montreal, like you guys have curfew, like 8 o'clock.
Yes.
You're not allowed out.
No,
Yeah.
just like kids. I'm allowed out because I have a dog. I'm allowed to go walk my dog. But
yeah, that's a weird concept, like super weird. I mean, it kind of it leads to some great writing because you can totally use it for like inspiration, but
I got plenty of time for writing, recording, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
it's
put it to
definitely
good use.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what you have to do, especially because it went from performing like everybody else was performing live to all of a sudden there's a halt, and what the hell are we gonna do, kind of a thing. So
Right.
really showed which bands wanted to do it and which bands just kind of did it for show. Like they were just like, oh, we
Absolutely.
want to be rock stars, kind of a thing. So
Absolutely.
it's definitely weeded out a lot of the bands that didn't necessarily need the spotlight, I guess, because they weren't in it wholeheartedly.
We've been working hard. Like COVID didn't stop us. We're reaching out. I mean, we're doing podcasts, whatever we can do to, talk to people, get our name out there, meet new people, make connections.
Yeah, it's very true. And I was saying too, I had epiphany the other day when I was talking to my band that usually after you perform, you mingle with the crowd, you talk to people, you network, you make new friends. They come back to your shows with 5 more friends, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's what our social media platforms are right now. That's our venue. Like we're supposed to be like physically connecting with new people, kind of a thing, and talking to the fans. So it's become a more unique thing as an artist because you have to be more involved. It's not just like post your song and expect people to give you likes. You kind of got to earn it now more than just writing good music. It's you got to be a good person and show the people that. And I think that's a really cool thing. Like I'm glad that evolved into what it is, but I hate that also comes along with a popularity contest. You have to have so many likes to be people to think your music's good, but then you can find bands that have like 30,000 likes, 50,000 likes that their music's terrible. So it makes it hard to find the good music, and I think that's what helped with COVID, is it made it a lot easier to find who was 100% and who wasn't.
Oh, absolutely. I found so many good bands that I've never heard about. Canadian bands.
Mm-hmm.
We hear a lot about the US bands. And I found some Canadian artists lately during COVID to listen to. And I'm like, whoa, would I really have taken the time to listen to them if the world was still going like we were going before? Probably
Yeah.
not.
No, and I think that's exactly kind of what happened with the world is everything was going so fast. Everything was zipping past us. We didn't have time to just take a step back and breathe.
Yeah.
Like smell the roses, I guess, essentially. But now we've had a year of it. I think there's a lot more, even globally, you see a lot more people kind of standing up for things that needed to be changed.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that like there's the same thing for music and like musicians, people in the music industry. It would be nice to see something for the people who dedicate their whole lives to music versus what it is now, because it's a weird market for us.
For sure.
And I guarantee you guys have noticed that too, because how long have you guys been together for? Just since the beginning of COVID?
Yeah, 2019 for Andy and I. Javier just joined up with us in February. So
yeah, so you guys have been in about the same time that our band has been together. So yeah, it's been weird, especially when like we had 2 shows under our belt before COVID hit, and like a bunch more booked. But like usually bands make their reputation through performances.
yes.
So having to build a reputation without being able to perform to people is a whole new concept for everyone.
Absolutely. But like you said, it's all about connecting still with people. So doing these podcasts, going on, I mean, we all have TikTok. Andy posts regularly on his TikTok to try to reach out to people, connect with other musicians. You know what I mean?
And the younger crowd.
Yes.
Because that's one thing every band I notice, and I've said for years, like I mean, good 15 years, like the younger crowd, you have to appeal to them. Because realistically, like when we were younger, we went to live shows and we bought CDs and shirts and stuff, right? Like that disconnect happened because the bands, when we grew up while we were performing, we went to bars.
Yes.
Instead of all ages events. And because we thought the bar scene was better. But in reality, the bar scene kind of killed live music. It may have given us venues, but now we can't even ask for a guarantee kind of a thing, you know what I mean? Because they can get any band in. So they don't even try. You just get doors. So, I mean, there's a lot of little things that need to change for us to be able to really be appreciated as musicians and for what we do, because it's not easy. And that's kind of like what our podcast, that's what I was trying to explain to Andy, is our podcast a little different than most because it's musician talk to musicians, because people don't understand what we deal with. They just see us on stage. They just see us. They see the good side, all the promotion we do where we try to make our image look good. They don't see the behind the scenes where you got guitar players fist fighting in the studio. And, like there's so many different factors that happen as a band that nobody realizes. And I think that that's kind of what we hope to do, is get people to understand what each band's own struggle is to get to where they are. So, and I mean, you guys have had, like most bands have had years to build up to get to this point where they have their dedicated fan base. Then COVID hit and it was just like, okay, now we got to appeal back to our fan base.
Yes.
But to try and build one in a time where everyone's reaching for attention, that's difficult. And I mean, you guys have made it from in a year, just over a year. Say, well, February, realistically, you've been a full band, but you guys have over 1,000 likes on Facebook. That's an accomplishment, a huge accomplishment.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
No worries. Like, honestly, it is, because it's not easy to get people to go and support.
But you have to be ready to get down, down and dirty, and you have to be ready to work and to push it. And I mean, what brought us a lot of likes also and a lot of attention is the competition we offered. I'm on a singing app, and we did a 2-week competition with 10 people and offered them a feature spot.
Oh, cool.
So we're remaking all the songs right now, so we get copyrights and everything clean on our tracks to be us and not the old drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, Nikki, who won the competition, is going to join me on a song.
Oh, cool.
So that's bringing in a new artist. She's from the UK. I mean, she's on a singing app, you know, like she's amazing. So why not?
Yeah, she sounds amazing.
Why not give somebody else a chance? The
And
guys gave me a chance.
right. And that's kind of how, that's why we did this. Like, that's exactly why this is our way of giving back. Because Norman and I and Dale have all been doing this for, well, not Dale, as long. Dale's been doing, he's a couple years younger than us, but Norman and I have been close to about 20 years this year. We've been
Oh, wow.
performing, like we started both performing at like 12 at open mics. And we both went
Wow.
separate ways. I went with hip hop and rock, and he ended up in cover bands and like playing big festivals and cover bands and stuff. So for us to merge up 25 years, like down the road and be friends for 25 years, we understand all the aspects of how bands can succeed and fail, not in a weird way, because we understand that we have a hard time. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in a big city, if you're in a small city, emerging bands have the toughest time getting heard, especially rock and metal musicians.
Right.
We don't get the time of day.
Sure.
You know what I mean? In
I
a world,
agree.
yeah, and in a world that is heavily influenced by music. You look at pop culture, heavily influenced by the pop musicians. You look at rap culture, extremely influenced by the rap musicians. Same with metal, right? But ours isn't. It's not embraced as much like globally.
Not as much, no, not as much.
Like, we have a tight knit community, but it's not widespread. You know what I mean? It's not the whole world understands. It's a very, I don't know. It's almost like a monster to some people. They hear it and they're just like pull up their cross and they're scared. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It's difficult, and especially producing. Like, producing metal is it's hard. Like, you can produce electronic music, you can produce pop music and rock music, but like metal has its own feel, and it's so hard to capture that because there's an energy that you're trying to capture too, right? Versus just putting down guitars over top of drums and then vocals over that. There's a whole energy that I think a lot of people forgot that bands. That's why we fell in love with Led Zeppelin. That's why we fell in love with Ozzy. That's why we fell in love with Janis Joplin. All the greats. There was an energy that was captured in their music. And I think that being able to capture that now, when it was almost forgotten, is a hard thing. So for me, I find metal producers are some of the most talented people on the planet. And I always got to give my shout outs to that, especially when they're self-produced, like you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to work a 9 to 5 and then come home and mix for, I don't know, another 6-7 hours probably. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, that's Javier's job.
And that's what I mean. Like, Javier is probably busting his ass off constantly, and that's the thing that people don't see too. It's not.
He just tells me what he wants. I lay down the tracks, and then I go, "Here you go."
Exactly right.
Yep.
Like, I'm so thankful for Andy, our drummer, because he does all our production. And like, I used to run a record label for 4 years, and like, it drove me insane. It's hard when you every little thing. Oh, fuck, the snare's not loud enough. The EQ's off. Like, those things. That's next level. Like, writing a song, yeah, but like when you get into production of the music yourself, that's when hair pulling comes. Yeah. Like, making a mix is hard enough, you know what I mean? But being able to capture the sound you want, make the mix, and make it appeal to people. If you can do it, my props.
I guess this is the blessing you were talking about earlier, like losing the drummer, gaining Javier. And it's like he connects, like we talk about the song, we talk about what we want, and then he just brings it, and it's like, it's what I wanted, you know? He captures exactly what the feel of the song's going to be, and it's pretty cool.
For sure. We actually just came out with a new song called 1,000 Times. Mel can tell you about it. She wrote it.
That's the crossover song. Like, this is not the metal, this is not the rock. That is a stripped down, very orchestra
The
version.
one with the piano.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really pretty song.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's what's cool, right? Like you can go from heavy, and I think that's another thing that bands tend to limit themselves to. Genres. I
Yes.
hate genres.
Yes.
Right.
Like some of my favorite bands, they do not play the same. One of my favorite bands is Ween. Not many people know who Ween is, but every single fucking song is different. Like they have
Yes.
funny songs, really talented songs, and then in between on every scale. So that to me makes a real musician. If you can capture tons of different genres into one style, that's where real
Right.
musicians are. You know what I mean? Like the Beatles, if they stuck to what they originally were writing when they were kids, they wouldn't have stayed greats. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have been like the Beatles songs you remember are usually the last 2 albums they put out. You know what I mean? It's because their musicianship had grown. They had grown together. There's a I don't even know what the word is. Like a connection, just a weird spiritual connection between everyone.
Absolutely.
And you have to
start
build that.
vibing.
Yeah, and you have
just
to build
start
that.
vibing at one point. Yes.
And it's nice when you do find those people that you just like, it clicks. So
Yeah, they invented most of that technology to make those records happen. They really got down and dirty with those engineers, and
Yep.
you know, if we want to make this sound, then we need to experiment in what we're doing, mic placement, and how we're doing panning laws on where things are. They changed all of that.
Yeah, no, and that's like a lot of the work behind the scenes work that people don't even understand. You know what I mean? Because you get people who self-produce, but they're like to understand production on like a level that our drummer Andy does. You know what I mean? Like I've never had someone who I felt comfortable with just being like, "Here's an idea, do what you want to do with it."
Yeah.
Usually, my hands have to be on it, doing it myself, or it's not going to be good enough for me. I don't do that with Andy, and having that trust with a producer is the best thing ever. You know what I mean? Because it's like, fuck yeah, I know this is going to come out sounding amazing.
Absolutely.
Right.
So you guys are in the midst of getting copyrights over your. Is it an EP or a full length that you're working on?
Full length.
Nice. How many songs?
We're not sure yet. We'll see.
Oh, you're gonna write as you go.
We're writing as we go. We have 2 more to redo right now to get the copyrights back to us. After that, we have 1 ready to go with Nikki, and then Andy's brain works very fast, and I think he already has like maybe 2 or 3 ideas already lined up there. Wait.
I'm always making ideas.
Yeah.
So
no, it's like
just record. I mean, like I just record them on my phone with the MP3 recorder, and just as ideas, and then just to have them when an idea comes. That's a pretty good tool to use. So
it is. Yeah, it's definitely nice to have the technology we do these days. Where I've even had our guitar player or our drummer was talking about how he's had melodies come in his head, like drum beats and stuff, and he just like records it on his phone and then comes back a couple hours later and hears it and he's like, the fuck was I thinking? And then he's actually breaks it down and realizes it was a dope drum beat. But it is that I think that's the hardest part about being a musician, is like trying to memorize your newest ideas too.
Yeah, that's why you got to keep something handy. My phone, I'm humming to my phone, like randomly walk down the streets, you hear something and you just start humming to your phone to try to keep it.
Yeah, I use the 18 rule. That's what I do. If you do something 18 times, you've memorized it. So that's what I always like. I just sit there and loop the guitar riff in my head. I don't forget it. So I find that works the best, is the 18 rule, because I fuck up constantly. Like I got a terrible brain. It's pretty bad. So no, it's cool to see that you guys found each other online, are writing music, and just kind of saying, fuck it, we're gonna do what we can.
Why not? I mean, I always wanted to be in a band. Andy gave me a chance. I like working with Andy. He's serious. He wants to do this. And then I mean, Javier blessed us with his producing skills, and I just, it had to finally happen. You know what I mean? I've been pushing for this for so many years. The guys have been pushing. Andy's been pushing for so many years too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
his wife and him started Krozover in 2012. So.
Wow. That's
Yeah, and it was
been
just me and her at a coffee shop. You know what I mean? It was just me, acoustic guitar, her at a coffee shop. That's how it started. So
That's so cool. You know, like it's always cool to hear other bands how they start to their story. So everyone's got a different story. You know, like you'll never find a band that has the same story as another one.
No.
Or even like tour experiences. Like fuck, that's one of my favorite things when I get lost in a conversation with a band about like stories from on tour. I don't remember who it was, but somebody like got punched in the head by a homeless guy with a burger in his hand, and I was like, "That's the best story I've ever heard."
Wow, that's like that won't happen to everybody. That's for sure. That you got a unique one there.
Yeah, exactly right. Like we get some of the best experiences and some of the worst as musicians, and I think that that's what makes it worth it.
Yes.
right.
Like
Hopefully we get to travel soon, and I get to go and meet up with those guys. And
yeah, no, like I want to go down to Texas as soon as possible. That's my goal, is to go perform in the States, because Canada, we don't. That's another story. Like Canada's music scene is dead. Like
it's not
especially
the same.
no, like 10, 15 years ago, it was epic. So
Absolutely.
many live shows, so many good bands. Now there's nothing. Like there's no venues, there's no bands. Unless you're a country artist or a DJ, it's really hard to find a venue.
We're lucky here in Montreal, though, because it's such a big city that we still get the rock bands. We still get but outside of here, people have to come to Montreal to see those bands.
Yeah, no, Montreal's on my list of places I've always wanted to perform. And of Canada, there's only like 3 or 4. Montreal has one of the greatest music scenes in Canada. Toronto is another really good one. And Vancouver used to have an extremely good one, but now it's more underground. Like the underground bands is where you want to go, because they don't really bring any big bands in anymore.
Yeah.
They do, but they don't. Like, I mean, there's a lot of world tours that completely neglect the West Coast. And I mean, like all of the West Coast up until like Manitoba. And then anything past Manitoba, they're like, okay, we'll perform over here. But like half of Canada is completely neglected for shows.
Absolutely.
It's really weird. And like in the States, you guys are also close to, you can drive like 2 hours to like get to another state. You know what I mean? Here we have to drive like 16 hours to get to another province. So it's like,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like, damn, man. If I want to go perform in Calgary, it takes me 16 hours to drive. So you got to like book like 3 shows when you go out there to make it worth your while, kind of a thing, right? And it's hard to.
You don't just go for one show. No.
Yeah. So it's really hard to book a tour in Canada, like a Canadian tour, because of that. So you got to like book 3-4 days in a big city and then hit as many little places in between.
Yeah.
So it's really it's kind of a cool concept, but it's kind of hard to get going.
We need to be able to fly.
Yeah.
So we can go.
Yeah. I'd be even happy driving. I'd be happy driving down to Texas and just hit up as many states as I could. I think that would be fun. I hope that shit opens up soon. I really do. Because I know the UK is opening up. They have shows already starting. Texas has already had like the bands I interviewed from Texas are already like 3 weeks into performing now.
Yep.
And like Arkansas.
And I still have an 8 p.m. curfew.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and France has 6 p.m.
Oof.
Yeah, like I interviewed a French band on our record label, and they were like 6. And their band manager is in Montreal, and he's like, yeah, we're 8. I'm just like, I'm gonna stop complaining because I can still go out whenever I want. So
no.
Yeah, we just can't hang out. I just can't like go to a band practice, which is really annoying, because like we haven't performed practice since November, which is like, I think that's another thing too that's really caused a lot of problem for bands, is not seeing each other. It did that distance. You know, it's just like in a relationship. If you're not like constantly with your spouse, there's a distance that grows.
Yeah.
Same thing with a band. And I know I've met a lot of bands that have lost members just from COVID because they're so distant and they're just like lose the passion for it.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
It's hard. It's COVID was hard on everybody and still is. Like it's still pretty hard on all of us, but we're making it work.
If there's anything in the music industry that you guys could change, what do you think it would be?
That we could do shows now.
Just let us know, please.
I don't know. I just want to get out of here. Let me out.
Right. Yeah. That's it. I think that's a general consensus for everyone in the world is we need to get out.
All of us in Canada are like, okay, we're done now. We're good.
We just
Out.
hit over a year. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We hit officially a year in BC. So, yeah, that's that would be number one for sure. Let us the fuck out and perform.
Just let me go meet the guys. I just want to meet them and try to practice together. We haven't even tried to practice together yet.
And that's really when, like, when you get down there and you get to meet them and perform with them, like jam in the same room. I think that's where your guys will be able to create your sound. I think that's the hardest part is when you're trying to create a new band, the sound that defines you, and you're not able to like jam together.
Right.
That's a key thing is jamming.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like covers, as much as I hate doing covers, it's really good to connect bands on that. I like to say the telepathical level, because when you're in a band, the drummer and guitar player and you're not looking at each other when you're live. You know what I mean? You're all linked into it. And if the drummer puts in a fill here, you're like, oh shit, we're all about to stop. Boom. Like it naturally happens. It's almost like it's in your subconscious. You're all connected in this one wavelength. And it's a really cool thing. And I think that's where you get to develop your genuine sound as an artist. Yeah. And I think that'll be a really cool thing to hear your guys' music once you do get to go down there and jam with the boys.
I agree. I can't wait to hear what we sound like when we're actually all organic together and not separately,
Mm-hmm. It's great to work separately, but at the same time, it's good for concepts. But like to write a song and to play the song are two different things.
Absolutely.
That's where
at least we'll have some songs written down and we can start practicing and making everything sound good and start touring.
I mean, we could already practice the stuff we have too, so
yeah,
because we have a lot. So
yes, and I think things are slowly going to open up. I think it's only like a 3-week lockdown they want to put us in, and then they're hoping it does what it does. But I'm hoping by summer we're allowed out because I'd like to just be able to perform, even if it was like even behind a plexiglass wall. You know what I mean? Like just let us play. Just let us play. Stick us in a bubble.
Yes,
stick us in a bubble.
Me in a bubble. Yes, I'll deal with it. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
Well, I would say thank you to you for having us.
Oh, no worries.
Having this conversation and
yes, thank you.
No worries. Nice. When you guys release said new music, let me know and we'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Awesome, guys. Well, you stay safe and I'll stay in contact with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Man, for sure.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right.